Assalamu alaikum, our learners. Today we will start our online lessons. We will complete our lessons. As you learned before, you get to understand and know the engine component. So today we will complete our lessons. Let's start by using this presentation here. So our lesson today is internal combustion engine. The internal combustion engine is the vehicle engine, the car engine. This is the internal combustion engine. Why we call it like that? Because the combustion were burned inside of engine. So the combustion comes inside of engine. So we call it internal combustion engine. Let's check our objectives, then we will start our lessons. Our lesson here. Our objectives today, we should know, we should be able to identify the function of internal combustion engine. So we need to know the function of internal combustion engine. Also, we need to name the 4 strokes of internal combustion engine. We have 4 strokes. Those 4 strokes allow the engine to be run. Also, we need to know the function of internal combustion engine, why we use this engine. So let's start by using this pre-activity. I have here this pre-activity. Also, I have this cube. This cube will help us to answer some questions. Let's check. First of all, look to the picture. Then try to guess what's the question. Okay, now I'll ask. My question is, if we need to create a fire, we have to obtain 3 things that to create a fire. So what's those 3 things? I ask you, Mr. Cube. Let's check to see the answer of Mr. Cube. He said water. Water. No, sorry, Mr. Cube. Spark or heat. Yeah, you are doing well. So let's check if it's his answer okay or not. Okay, heat. Spark or heat. Yeah, good. Try again. You are doing well, Mr. Cube. Engine. No, Mr. Cube. Try again. Oil. Sorry, Mr. Cube. Fuel. Yes, fuel. So the fuel is one of important things that's to be available to create a fire. We have the 3rd things. It's yes, oxygen. Mr. Cube answer all the questions. So we need to get those 3 things that to create a fire. So in the end, our result, it will be fire. It will be fire. This is the fire. Here, if we check, we have oxygen, heat, and fuel. So we get the fire triangle. Okay. Now, this pre-activity show us what's the material or what the objects that we need to create fire. Why we need the fire? Because the engine get this heat energy. This heat energy done by combustion to make rotation, to make movement. So let's go to the function of internal combustion engine. To get know the function of internal combustion engine, we need to check this slide. In this slide, it shows us many words. As we said before, to create a fire, the piston will be here. So if we get a fire, that's affected of piston to move. So the piston will move by the action of fire or combustion. This called heat energy. Heat energy. The heat energy converted the power to be a mechanical energy. As we know, the power can be converted. Electric power can be converted to heat by using iron. Electric power can be converted by using motor as a rotation. Electric power also can be converted to a light to lighting by using electric power. So the power is converted. Here in engine, in internal combustion engine, in vehicle engine, we use the heat power, this heat power, that's to make the movement. So the function of internal combustion engine convert the heat energy, what's the meaning of convert? تحول. In Arabic, تحول. It's used to convert the heat energy, this power, heat energy, convert that to mechanical energy, So it's convert that to power. Mechanical energy, that's mean rotation. Now, let's go to next slide, but before we will explain again the function of internal combustion engine. The function of internal combustion engine is used to convert the heat energy to mechanical energy. Convert the heat energy to mechanical energy. So we get the rotation in the engine. Let's try, Mr. Cube back again. Now, Mr. Cube will answer. Let's try to check Mr. Cube answer. To create fire, need oxygen, fuel, and I think it's easy. Let's check. I don't know. First of all, he said, I don't know. Try again. Maybe spark, you're not sure? Try again. Maybe spark again. No. Try again. No, not a fuel. Try again, Mr. Cube. Spark, yes. Now we get the answer. It's a spark. It's true. Your answer, Mr. Cube, is correct. Now, also, Mr. Cube answered before by engine, but he get wrong answer. So let's read the question, then answer. The system used to create spark called, we call that, so, okay, we will give you a chance again to answer. The system used to create spark, fuel system, no, Mr. Cube. Fuel system, no, Mr. Cube. Fuel system, you said, okay, by ignition system. So you know the answer. I know you are getting the answer, but you are trying to joking with us. So the system used to create spark called ignition system. Yes, correct answer. So the ignition system will create a spark, but the fuel system will give us fuel. Now, let's check the four-stroke. We will start to explain how the engine running. As we see in here, we have bicycle and we have engine fixed with bicycle pedal. So, what's Mr. Majid want? Okay, I tell you what I want. I want you to start your experience by using the bicycle. How the bicycle is running? It's running by using the pedal. When the driver use the pedal, so he will make reciprocating movement. What's the mean of reciprocating? This move, up and down, up and down. This is the reciprocating movement. When the driver make this reciprocating movement, so he will rotate the gear. This gear will start to rotate. When this gear start to rotate, that will make the chain drive. Now, if the chain drive, it will drive other gears fixed with wheel. So this will rotate the wheel. This will rotate the wheel. When the wheel rotate, it will drive. This is the idea of bicycle. In engine, we have the same, but in engine, no need to drive the wheel. So no need to drive the wheel. We need to get movement by rotating the crankshaft. Did you remember the crankshaft? Crankshaft. We are use it to transmit the rotating power. Yes, to transmit the rotating power to flywheel. So the piston, as we know here, we have piston. This is the piston. This one piston. This is the cylinder, and we have spark plug here. Just remind you what we have here. Okay, let's back to our lesson. So we will back to our lesson. First of all, we need to remove the lines we are make it. Okay. Now the piston will move down. When the piston move down, so that will rotate the crankshaft. It will get the drive, the crankshaft going down. So that will make rotation. Rotation, that's mean rotate, run the crankshaft. So what's the power that's used to make the piston moving down? Let's think. We have fire or combustion. We call it combustion. We have combustion inside of engine. If we get combustion in closed area, that means this power, the explosion power, explosion mean in Arabic انفجار. The explosion power will move the weakness point. The weakness point here is the piston because it's not fixed. It can go down and up. So when the piston in up position, we call it top dead center position. In that moment, if we get a power, that means the piston will move down by the action of this power. So the action of power will push the piston to downward. That's make the rotation. This is the idea. We are getting the idea. So we have leg reciprocating. This is using with bicycle, leg reciprocating, and we have piston reciprocating. Piston reciprocating used with engine. Let's go through second slide. Next, okay. Oh, we have question here. This question will ask us, what's the type of reciprocating here? It's leg reciprocating. This reciprocating is leg reciprocating because the driver uses his leg to rotate the pedal. Okay. This is not from Mr. Cube. This is just to remind us. Now, those pictures, those photos shows us the engine. Let's remind you the parts of engine. We have the cylinder block, we have piston, we have connecting rod, we have crankshaft, we have intake valve, exhaust valve, we have spark plug. That's to remind you what's the parts we are used here in engine. We learned that before. In internal combustion engine, to make a power, as we seen here in the third picture, we seen the power. That means we have fuel, and to make power, or to make fire, we need fuel and oxygen. So in this picture, let's get the pen and let's try to use the pen to explain this. Now in this picture we have here, we have a power. The spark gives a spark. So that means if we have fuel and oxygen here in this area, in the red area, that means it will make combustion. Combustion make power. So the combustion is a fire, but this combustion in a closed area, so it will make power. This power will move the piston down. See the arrow? It shows us that the piston moves down. Now I'll ask you, how can we get the fuel and the air inside of piston? So we need to back to first stroke. The first stroke, we call it intake stroke. Intake stroke. In intake stroke, the engine will get amount of fuel and amount of air and mix this amount of fuel and air together to make it as a gas. Now, if we get any spark or overheat, over too much heat, if we get overheat, here in petrol engine we get spark. This is make the overheat. We get spark. So if we get spark with fuel and mixture and air, fuel mixture, so it will burn it. Now we will get the fuel and air. The fuel and air. Blue is air and the red is fuel here. This fuel comes inside of engine through the intake valve. This is the intake valve. So the intake valve will be open in the intake stroke. This we call it intake stroke. Let's check here what we call this stroke. We call this stroke intake stroke. This is the intake stroke. In intake stroke, we get mix of fuel and air through the intake valve, and the piston moves down. So when the piston moves down, it will make sucking vacuum. This vacuum allows the air fuel mixture to access inside of cylinder. So we collect amount of air fuel mixture inside of engine. Now we get the fuel and air. So what's after that? After we getting the fuel and air, we need to prepare it for combustion that means explosion in Arabic انفجار. So to make explosion, let's ask each other a question. Suppose there's a ball without air and a car comes over this ball. Is it exploded? Never. But if it's filled by air, that means it will explode. Now, an engine, to make a power, we need to compress the fuel and air. So we need to get second step by compress the fuel with air. Sorry. Here, so we need the second stroke. We call it compression stroke. In compression stroke, so in first one, in first stroke, intake stroke, the piston moves down. So when it moves down, it's makes sucking. That's allows the air to entrance through the intake valve. But in second stroke, we call it compression stroke, as we see here. In second stroke here, this is compression stroke. In compression stroke, the piston moves upward, so it's go up. As we seen, the valves are closed. We have two valves. This one, intake stroke, it's closed, and this one, it's closed. This is the exhaust stroke. So the fuel we are taking before, fuel and air, it's well compressed. Now we're getting compressed the air and the fuel. When the air and the fuel get compressed enough, that means when the piston goes to upper point, we call it top dead center. Top dead center. In top dead center, that's the point the piston will going to it at the upward stroke. When the piston go up, it will close this area. So the air and the fuel will compress too much. We call it high compression. In this high compression, the fuel mixture comes as a gas. So when we get a spark, that means this fuel and air will burn. So it will make a power. This power moves the piston downward. So in power stroke, we have get compression with combustion. So that's make a power. This power moves the piston downward. So the piston will move down. As we seen, the arrow show us that. So what's the action? The action, the connecting rod, this is connecting rod. The connecting, it's same as the driver, the bicycle driver legs. Here we have connecting rod. This connecting rod will get the movement of piston to rotate the crankshaft. This is the crankshaft. That means it will rotate the crankshaft to make rotation, to run the engine. Okay, now the engine is run and we get the movement, but we have got a smoke, exhaust. Now we have got smoke here and exhaust. We need to remove this exhaust gases. So after that, the piston will move up, and the exhaust valve, this is, we call it exhaust valve, as we know before, as we learned before, this is exhaust valve. So the exhaust valve will be open, but the intake valve will be closed. As the exhaust valve is open, so the exhaust gases will scavenging by piston to go out of engine to exhaust pipe. So we see the exhaust pipe gives smoke. Now, this is the 4-stroke of internal combustion engine. This one we call it what? Yes, power stroke. This is power stroke. And that one we call it what? Yes, exhaust stroke. So we have 4 strokes to run the engine. The first one, intake stroke. In the intake stroke, we get the fuel and air mixture. We have compression stroke to compress the air and the fuel to make it gases, to make it as a gas. Then we have bore stroke. The bore stroke, that's collect all the things that to make a fire. Add the fuel and petrol in a closed area and compressed, so it will make power. This power will move the piston. Then we need to remove the gases, exhaust gases. So the exhaust valve will open, the piston will go up to push the exhaust gases out of engine. Now let's check each stroke by take it separately. In intake stroke, the piston moves. Where it moves downward. Piston moves to downward, so it moves down. Now, what's the position of intake valve? The intake valve will be open. This is the intake valve. The intake valve will be open. So, intake valve open. Let's summarize the other stroke, compression stroke. The compression stroke, what about engine? It moves, yes, to upwards. Now, what about valves? Both valves are closed, yes. Let's check power stroke. In power stroke, we have piston moves downward. So it moves down before the power of combustion make the piston moves down. And what about valves? Both are closed. That's to make the power more effective. Okay. Later, in the 4th stroke, we have exhaust stroke. In exhaust stroke, we need to push the exhaust gases out of engine. So the piston moves. Yeah, see the arrow? Yeah, upward. Now, what about valve? Exhaust valve is open. The exhaust valve is open. Here, it's allowed the gases to go out of engine. Okay. This is the summarized of 4 strokes. Now, let's check this video to see how the engine works. Here, we will get faster operation of engine. See the engine, how it's work. It's good. Take mix of oil and air, fuel and air, sorry. It gives a spark, make a burn, and move the piston down. This rotation will run the engine, see. Now I'll make it more slow. See, in more slow, it's more slow also. We will start, this is the intake stroke, power stroke, compression stroke, power stroke, exhaust stroke, intake stroke, compression stroke, power stroke, exhaust stroke. So the engine running. As it's running, it will take fuel and air mixture. As we see now, it's compressed the air and the fuel mixture. It will burn the air and the fuel mixture. It will get the smoke and burn gases out of the engine. Let's make it more slower. Intake stroke, compression stroke, power stroke, exhaust stroke. It will repeat. Intake stroke, compression stroke, power stroke, exhaust stroke. It will repeat as it's running. Always it's repeat the strokes. Now it's compressed, power, exhaust. Let's back again. It will back again to get fuel and air mixture. The valve open. Now compress the air fuel mixture, burn the air fuel mixture to make power. Now smoke will go out. Now let's take each stroke separately. Now intake stroke. In intake stroke, as we see, the air fuel mixture will go inside of engine through the intake valve. Let's check the compression stroke. After that, it will come as the engine will run. That will make the piston moves up. When it moves up, let's check the compression stroke. It's compressed now. The valves are closed. The fuel were compressed. The fuel compressed. As the fuel compressed, that means it will be gas. That's to make it easy to burn and combustion, make it combustion and power, to make power. Let's check the power stroke. In the power stroke, this spark plug will give spark. When it gives spark, that means it will make a power. It will make combustion. When the combustion obtained, that means the piston will move by the power of combustion. It will move down. Let's check the power stroke. See, the spark gives spark. The fuel mixture will burn. Now, this fuel mixture, when it's burned, that will expand the gases. This power will move the piston downward. As we see, the downward movement transmitted by connecting rod, this is the connecting rod, transmitted to crankshaft. As we see, as the crankshaft look like a bicycle pedal, so it will run. That will make the engine run. Let's check after burn, after gas burned. That means we need to get it out to start another stroke. So the exhaust gas stroke will start to push out the gases out of engine. Now we will run all. See, intake stroke, compression stroke, power stroke, and exhaust stroke. Okay, let's back to our lesson. Now let's get answer those questions. Now we have a description, and we have one word suitable with this description. So piston moves downward. Intake valve is open. So what's that stroke? Piston moves down, intake valve open. So it's, yes, intake stroke. So we'll get this and put here. Okay. This is the intake stroke. Okay. The second, piston moves downward. So the piston moves down. Both valves are closed. The piston moves down 2 times, in intake stroke and in power stroke. But in intake stroke, the intake valve will be open. But in power stroke, 2 valves, both valves are closed. So this is the power stroke. Okay. Now, third, piston moves upward. The piston moves up, but we need to know the position of valves to know what's this stroke. Both valves are closed, so the both valves are closed. We need to compress. We need to compress the air. That means this is the compression stroke. Yeah, compression stroke. Now, piston moves upward. Piston moves up. Exhaust valve is open. So as the exhaust valve is open, that means we need to get the smoke out of engine. So exhaust stroke. This is the exhaust stroke. Let's check. Yes, correct answer. Okay. Now we have another problem. Describe the power stroke. Now, just one question. Describe the power stroke. What's the power stroke? In power stroke, we have two important things. The piston moves down and both valves are closed. Let's check where's the answer. Piston moves downward. Okay, this is downward. Intake valves open. No. Piston moves upward. Both valves. This is compression. Piston moves downward. Both valves are closed. So this is the answer. Okay. Now, to get more information, more information, you have those sites. You can get more details about four-stroke by checking those sites. In the end, I wish you to answer the questions that we are attached in Google class. Also, I hope you can check the Google class to get the presentation and monitoring that. Try to ask your instructor about any issues. You can ask me, you can ask any mechanical instructor for any issues. Thank you. See you in next lesson. Bye-bye.